Hey guys, I'm back again, and we are about to go into that same example that we just had with the Ferris wheel, and we are going to be working on our calculator with it. So let me bring that up for a second. So remember that we drew this graph here, and so we've got it drawn. We've written the equation right there, which is pretty important. And I'm about to go to my calculator to do part D, part E, and part F. So when I go to my calculator here, I'm going to type this into my y equals. So I'm going to got my calculator up here and going. So I'm going to do 20 sine, and then I had 2 pi over 8, open x, and we did -1, close, close, and then I was shifted up 23. Now, I know you're about to groan at me, but I'm going to need you to hold it in. Every one of these problems, you're going to have to adjust your window. Now, stop groaning right now. Stop it. Because you're adjusting your window is going to be easy because you have your information right here to help you adjust your window. So right here, I'll use these for my X mins and maxes. And right here, I'll use these for my Y mins and maxes. And actually, I'll use near them. I actually don't exactly use them. I kind of go bigger. These I typically use. Scale-wise, I typically use the scale that I've got sitting on this axis. For me is by 2s. Over here on my scale, I just kind of eyeball it. I maybe count by 2s, 4s. It just depends on how big it is to go from the min to the max. So now that I've got it typed in the calculator, I will press my window and we'll make our adjustments. So my low was a -1 and my high was an 11. And I'm just going to use a scale of 2 because that's how my axis was marked. Now for my Y min, my low was 3. I'm just going to drop 1 below that. I'll say 2. And my high was 43. I'll just go 1 higher, so 44. Enter, and then I'm going to maybe count by 4s. What you count by is not that big a deal. Everybody freaks out about the scale. There's no reason. Just put something. I'm going to hit graph, and I should see the picture I drew on my paper, except for I've got something. Let's see if I can figure out what I did wrong here. Got 20 sine 2 pi over 8, window. Oh, I know what it is. And you might have this same problem. So you see right here on my calculator, it says degree. I need to be in radians. So I'll press mode and I'll change it to radians. Enter. Now when I hit graph, there it is, all pretty. So don't freak out if it looks wrong. Check your degree, make sure you're not in degree mode. Luckily, my calculator displays it right here at the top. But if your calculator is not displaying it, just press your mode and check on it. So that's what I should see right there. That's the graph I drew. Now, I'm trying to answer question D1, D2, and D3. So in this problem, it told me a time. So remember that time is t, so I put x right there, but I'm just going to make it a t. So that would be like me plugging in a 6 or me plugging in a 9, or for time I start the ride, that would be when I plug in a 0. Well, since I have this in my grapher, I can just use my trace. So I will press trace, and I'll start with t equals 6, enter, and I get a height of 8.858. So I'll say that f of 6 is 8.858 feet. Then I'll do 9. So again, I press my calculator, I press my trace, and I say 9, enter. And I get 23. Well, I graphed that over here. You can see on my graph when I did it, I was like, oh, that was at 23. But that's okay that I used my calculator. So I'll say f of 9 is 23 feet. And then for 0, again, I'll press my trace and I'll type in 0, enter, and oh, it's the same as it was when it was that other time, 6. So 8.858. So at time equals 0, f of 0 is 8.858 5, 8. So we plugged them in yesterday in class. Remember, we just typed in our regular screen with a 6 there and with a 9 here. But if I've already got the graph done, I might as well use my trace. All right, so my second problem is I want to do predict the time when you are 18 feet. So this 18 right here is the F. So I want to put 18 where the F is. So in my calculator, my Y1 will be my equation, which I already have in there. But my Y2 is going to be what I want to solve for. So that's going to be 18. So I'm going to go back to my calculator, press my Y equals, and I'm going to change my Y2 to 18. And I'll press enter. So when I graph it, I'll see that line for 18 come across my screen. So you can see that I have 1, 2, 3 places that I have a solution. So I'm going to solve for all 3 of those by doing second trace, choose my intersect, go down 1 time, and then move to the left. I like to go all the way to the left and do the leftmost first. So you just hear me kind of tapping on my screen here as I move to the left. And then once you're close to it, enter, enter, enter. So our first time is 0.678. So for number E, I said time is approximately 0.678 seconds. Then I went back to my graph and I said second trace 5, down 1 time, and then I can move across. And again, you have to be almost on top of it. Just be close to it. That should be pretty close. Enter, enter, enter. And I get 5.321 seconds. So T is approximately 5.321 seconds. And I'll do one more because there's one more on my screen. And I do, and press my calculator, my second, my trace, choose my 5, go down 1 time, scroll across till you get to it. And then you press enter, enter, enter. And I get 8.678 seconds. Now, I do want to point out that the difference between the first one and the second one, look at these 2 times, 0.68 to 8.68. So you see those 2 guys right there? That should make sense because the period, remember we said the period was 8. So this piece was on the first going up piece, and this is in the same position, just 8 seconds later. And so that's why the difference in those 2 are 8. So if I wanted to predict the next one that would hit this spot, I would just add 8 seconds to that one. All right. Now, our last question is F, and we actually did F when it said, how far from the ground were you when you started the ride? That was this intersection that we really just did right there. So that's the first example in how to use the calculator to solve for time. I hope you enjoyed this video.